Yep, good.
Folks, welcome into the SBR Betting Roundtable. We're going to be hitting on some NFL betting opinions, some college football betting opinions, and we'll have 60 seconds with Ian Cameron for the start of the NHL season and anything else to do with Canada sports. So let's welcome everyone in. Start off with Ian Cameron. Find him on Twitter at Babano, his work at sportsmemo.com. Ian, welcome.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great time of year. We've got NFL and college football heating up. Of course, the NHL hockey season starts tonight. I'm looking forward to that, as I am looking forward to being the new Wednesday co-host with Donnie on the closing line. So that's going to start tonight. Looking forward to that. And believe me, we're going to talk some hockey on that show without a doubt. Busy day for me. And then we got Gabe tonight. But looking forward to the roundtable. Lots of stuff to break down.
Yeah, can't wait, Ian. And speaking of Donnie Rightside, find his work at DonnieRightside.com. Obviously, Twitter right there. Donnie, welcome in, bud.
Yeah, I can't understand what's going on in my football atmosphere right now. I got the Miami Hurricanes undefeated, favored over Florida State Seminoles, which I haven't been able to say that quite a bit, and my first place Philadelphia Eagles. Life is too good to be true. I'm expecting both teams to go on a quick 3-game losing streak here for me.
Donnie, true or false? Most underrated college football rivalry, Miami versus Florida State.
It's not underrated, though. I mean, you look for maybe 15, 20 years. It was like the single best game, each year in college football. So, I mean, I see last couple of years it's been one-sided Florida State, but I can't say it's underrated.
Man, going to tailgate at that game, especially down in Miami with all those DJs.
I've been there.
It's a pretty cool atmosphere.
Yep, but, $20, you got to play $20 extra parking for no blocky, and then they promptly block you in 20 minutes later.
Hey, if you don't speak Spanish, you're in a tough situation down there.
True.
But big man on campus, Jeff Nadeau. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau, BMOCwins.com. Welcome in, buddy.
BMOCwins.com. You trying to get me started early today, Drew, or what?
Yes, there we go.
No BMOCwins.com, not anymore. I'm happy, Drew. I'm welcome. I appreciate you having me today. I always look forward to the show. No fighting today, though. That's one thing we're not doing on here. No fighting. I had too much of that last night.
So, yeah, last night was good. Supposedly, I got to go check it out. Everybody should. Where can they find that, big man?
We did it, Donnie and I, with Gabe Morency on the Sports Rage show that he does at night, the late night anger management course. It was fun. We had a good discussion. There was some agreements, there weren't, but I stick to my guns, Drew. And we had a fun conversation. We got to do more of that here at SBR. Sometimes we got to have differing opinions on things,
Absolutely.
Yeah, well,
what's funny too about that show is that they were unified at the very beginning. It was supposed to be a unified effort talking about Colin Cowherd and how a scumbag he is and how he's ripping Philadelphia unnecessarily and unwarranted. And then it turned into a big disagreement about Lonzo Ball and how much the balls are making. So that's sometimes what happens. If conversation flows,
Amen.
Sometimes you get that. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's see if we can get some of that with the NFL, guys. Donnie, I know you know the NFL as much as anybody. What caught your eye this week? What are you bringing from last week, looking to bet on this week's card?
Yeah, just catching up this morning, watching a little bit more film on some things that I liked. And again, it's week to week in the NFL. If anybody heard me a couple weeks ago, I was really down on Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans offense. Going back watching the last 2 games. Now, preface it by saying New England on the road, that's a nice game. You put up some points, but we've all seen New England's defense got a lot of, chinks in the armor. Next week, you roll it over to the Tennessee Titans. Not the best defense in the world out there, but not a terrible one. What Bill O'Brien, who I don't like as a head football coach, is doing right now with Deshaun Watson is awesome. You got Will Fuller back as another wide receiver weapon opposite of DeAndre Hopkins, running back Lamar Miller, and they're using the read option principle techniques. If you watch the Kansas City Chiefs with a lot of what they do with Alex Smith, they're implicating that with Deshaun Watson here. Very impressed, put up over 50 points versus Tennessee. It's going to be a great football game this Sunday night, but what caught my eye, Deshaun Watson looks like he's a good football player right now.
Yeah, carrying over his skills from college football. Anything to add to that, Ian?
I totally agree. I mean, I'm impressed with the poise. I'm impressed with just the command he has in the huddle and the respect he's already clearly got of his teammates. Like, these guys already are buying into Deshaun Watson, like playing with him and for him. And why would you not? I mean, if you just watch anything regarding Deshaun Watson and his play with the Clemson Tigers, you become aware of, he's got leadership traits in addition to those skills and talents he has with his feet, being able to move in the pocket, being able to throw the ball downfield. I've been really impressed. Now, The counter argument is obviously you face New England and Tennessee's defenses the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to get into Tennessee in a second because I've got concerns about them, a team that I was very high on coming into the season. But you give Deshaun Watson credit for that, and you look at the Houston Texans now matching up here with this undefeated Kansas City Chiefs team on Sunday night at home. I'm still not buying, though, the fact that they deserve to be a home underdog in this game, to be honest with you. But that's a discussion for another time. But I think this Houston team, with Deshaun Watson already showing you, hey, Tom Savage, stay on that bench. You're going to be there for a long time to come.
And last but not least, big man, anything to add to what Ian or Donnie said?
Yeah, two things. I like that the Steelers' offense looked better. I know they're having some issues right now on the sidelines with Antonio Brown, but he'll get over it. He's a professional. He'll be fine. But nice to see Le'Veon Bell get going. They go on the road and get the job done. But I'm going to shout out to our friend Gabriel Morenzi and his Buffalo Bills. Was I critical of the win last week? Yeah, I mean, they got a little lucky, but overall they won the football game, and that's all that matters in the NFL. It doesn't matter how you win, it's if you won or not, and they were able to go on the road and beat a very good offense. They held that offense down. They made plays when they needed to, and all of a sudden, with the Patriots looking a little poor on defense and some question marks, now I'm starting to ask BS questions. Hey, do you think Buffalo can win the AFC East? They're putting the thought in people's heads. Will they do it? Probably not, but they're making a go at it. They've looked great on defense. I couldn't believe it, Drew. I have to Denver Broncos are on a bye this week, so I had to pick up a defense in fantasy, and Buffalo was still hanging out there. What a grab! Great defense. They've played well, and they shut down Matty Ice and the Atlanta Falcons. Impressive stuff. Buffalo is looking good. Shout out to Bills fans.
Totally agree with Jeff about the Bills. I mean, in terms of how impressed we've been with their defense, especially. I mean, how bad was the defense for Buffalo under Rex Ryan? It's funny. Jim Schwartz was there. They had a great defense. Rex Ryan comes in. They have an awful defense. They take bad penalties, holding penalties. They're offside all the time. Just stupid shit that they were doing on the defensive side of the ball all the time with Rex Ryan. And Sean McDermott in just a few weeks has cleaned that up already. He's got a secondary where he's found some players. Gaines has been good. This Poyer kid has played really well for them. Of course, they've got a good pass rush led by Jerry Hughes up front. It's a very impressive Bills defense. I'm impressed with the 3-1 start. I'm certainly higher on them than I was. I'm just a little cautious. Still, just slightly. Is this another one of those classic Buffalo Bills teases? Early season start that surprises people. I remember J.P. Lossman, or as I called him, J.P. Lostman, about 10 years ago, got off to a 3-0, 3-1 start. And guess what? After that, he was the Bills basically fell off a cliff and had another bad season. Trent Edwards in the Bills years ago. Remember Trent Edwards, quarterback?
They sure have had a lot of bad quarterbacks over the years.
Tulane, babe. Tulane Green Wave, man, reaching back. Sure.
I forgot about those guys. J.P. Losman.
I know everyone was raving. Here's the next big quarterback in the NFL, Trent Edwards, 5-1 Buffalo Bills. Well, that's about as good as it ever got for Trent Edwards. It was just a disaster for him from that point onward. Bounced from team to team and then out of the NFL basically 2 years after that. So the Buffalo Bills, nice start, but we've seen this tease and this little act before. Let's see if it's sustainable.
Sure.
So bringing up J.P. Lossman, the Tulane, those days back in
Rob Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to move that offense pretty good. Couldn't do anything in the NFL. But, Ian, you brought up Tennessee. Also, we have Big Man bringing up the Patriots defense. What do we think about, the Titans? And Big Man, do you think that the Patriots defensively can turn this around?
No, I don't. How? I mean, you have who you have. I mean, unfortunately, it's not like in this league you can just go and flip a coin and say, well, we'll get them back next week. They're just not very good defensively, and it's they made some moves to get rid of people that they maybe shouldn't have. I was a little, I think. Almost perplexed at how bad they are. I thought they'd be a lot better this year. But you look at some of the positions. I mean, some of the guys that are playing, I'm not sure that they belong at this level. And your boy Rob Patricia, who I know Donnie loves, or Matt Patricia, not Rob Patricia, Matt Patricia, that rocket scientist, really smart guy that just tries to outsmart everyone. No, I don't think they can turn it. I don't mean to kind of mince words here. Donnie, how would they turn it around? What are they going to go out and get, all new players? You can't turn this around.
Yeah, it was like a miracle last year. I mean, they sort of had like a scrap heap front seven just trying to get after the quarterback. And when you really lose, come on, they lost Rob Ninkovich Then that collapses the entire defense. The interesting thing there is you go out and get Gilmore, a high-priced cornerback who you figure would just be a plug-and-play type guy. But on the other side, you could say, hey, well, you just paid a quarterback. We saw it in Philadelphia. Byron Maxwell comes from Seattle, comes over. Hey, man, I just got paid a boatload of money. I'm just out here freewheeling because it's all guaranteed, at least for the next 2 years. If you cut me, hey, I'll take my, $20, $30, $40 million home with me. And then on the other side, you have Butler, who's a very good cornerback, but he was in the precarious position where he wants a new contract. He wanted out of town. He thought he was traded. Now he's back in New England. Almost one of those things where you had these hired assassins sort of playing for themselves, because on paper, that secondary should be pretty good, and they're getting lit up. I
mean, Drew, this team is giving up 5.1 yards a carry, and they're giving up 324 passing yards a game. That's last by like 13 yards a game. I mean, they're getting drilled defensively. I mean, they haven't even looked close to being good ever.
They are practically 30th or worse, big man, in every defensive statistical category. That's not supposed to be New England Patriots football. It's just not. But Stephon Gilmore is the one guy, big man, and Donnie and Drew, that maybe Bill Belichick can't rescue this guy from Buffalo. Chris Hogan, he plucked from Buffalo, has been great. A bunch of guys, even Gillislee's produced a little bit and impacted this New England team positively. I'm not seeing that from Gilmore. I'm seeing him getting torched. I'm seeing him getting picked on a little bit. Maybe there's no helping out Stephon Gilmore. Really disappointed and underachieved in Buffalo. And so far, it hasn't gotten any better for him here with New England. I've got concerns with them. And you know what pisses me off is that I said a couple weeks ago right here on this show, New England's overvalued. I'll be looking to bet against them. Have I bet against them since then? No. I haven't taken advantage of it. The dummy me has not taken advantage. The problem is they were playing Carolina, and I didn't trust Carolina's offense to do something against New England last week. And sure enough, they even torched that beleaguered defense. Yeah, the overs, of course, have cashed week in and week out. Even Carolina pulls an over with that New England team last week. That tells you how bad it is on the defensive side of the ball. And as for Thursday night, people looking at Bucks and over, how do you talk them out of that opinion? How do you look at yourself in the mirror and talk people out of taking Tampa or the over right now, based on what you're seeing from that Patriots D right now?
And guys, what about the Oakland quarterback situation? Donnie, you had an interesting, I don't know if you said it on air about the offensive line and yada yada in Oakland, if we should go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, what are you guys, I guess, projecting going forward with the Oakland quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at the game on Sunday, something is amiss with David Carr to start the season. I don't know if it's he got the big contract or going to, Las Vegas, or, again, another guy that got paid. Now, he doesn't seem like the guy that's really worried about, I need to be the highest paid player. I just got paid. Now I'm going to take it easy. But something's a little bit amiss with that offense coming forward. Amari Cooper can't catch the football right now. I mean, it's just baffling. Crabtree misses the game last week, but I actually did like later in the game after Carr went out, there's a couple drives. I mean, he did throw an interception late, but it's more of a 50-50 ball. You're trying to rush downfield, and the cornerback made a nice play on the I forget who the wide receiver on that was, but I'm actually trying to build a case right now to take Oakland over the Baltimore Ravens. Not so much because I like Oakland and what they're going to present, but I think E.J. Manuel can be a little bit more aggressive in the pocket, maybe make some plays with his feet against a pretty good defense. If you get Crabtree back in this game, I think that's going to lend very well, because I watched Baltimore the last 2 weeks. That is a lifeless, listless offense. So it's not like Oakland's going to have to go out here and put up 35 points in order to beat the Baltimore Ravens. If they can get somewhere in the high teens to low 20s, I think they win and cover this football game, with that line opening up around 2.5, depending on where you're getting it from. So right now, I'm in the film room right now trying to build a case. I think Oakland's the better football team here, and I don't think it's that big of a discrepancy right now between E.J. Manuel and what David Carr was doing.
Totally agree. That's Oakland or pass for me. And E.J. Manuel at least showed some ability late in that game against Denver. He made a nice couple throws on the road. Tough spot coming in off the bench for Carr. Maybe a week of practice is going to help him out. Baltimore, to me, you're right. It's just abysmal right now. I don't want any part of them. I didn't like them coming into the season. They sort of had a smoke and mirrors 2-0 start, took advantage of some things. Cincinnati having a terrible game that first week. I don't like Baltimore whatsoever. I think it's a backs against the wall, circle the wagon spot here for Oakland. Same thing with the Tennessee-Miami game. I could only look Titans there, whether it's Castle or Mariota at quarterback. Doesn't matter to me. They got to show up. They got to respond after that drubbing in Houston last week. I think Titans and Raiders situationally bounce back. What are you made of? Type of spots for both of these teams, and I'll be leaning to both of them this week.
Yeah, real quick on a Raiders point in that, and I want to point out a lot of the people, especially public, and again, it's not the fault of the novice gambler in this situation to say, man, I'm not taking Oakland. They just lost David Carr, their starting quarterback, their franchise quarterback. They lost a game in Denver. It was a close game, but go back a couple weeks when I said, just going on the road, the quarterback was losing my mind for Minnesota, not Rosenfels,
Keenum.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Case Keenum comes there on the road, spot start, got no reps during the week. Watching the film, he didn't do that bad of a job against Pittsburgh. Now coming home in that same type of environment where they're going to insulate him. There's not much film work right now in EJ Manuel in this offense. They're going to put in some bootlegs, boot sweeps with him. And again, you're playing a team that's not going to be running up and down the field. So EJ Manuel's not going to have to throw the ball 35 to 40 times. I think it's a good spot this week alone, if we're looking at a week-to-week game, that you might want to back EJ Manuel going forward here. Just
one also quick point on Carr. You got to wonder, is this, and from what I've heard, this could be 2 weeks or 6 weeks, and that's not good when you're dealing with a back. Many of us know, and again, it's a small injury, but could it be a chronic back problem for this guy? I mean, who knows? I mean, when you get the type of injury he has, you get it from getting hit in a certain spot too hard, and backs are never good. I mean, any of us can say that. I mean, backs hurt a lot of people and bother a lot of people. When you have an injury prognosis of it could be 2 weeks or could be as long as 6 weeks, that's not good. I mean, it could be a chronic thing that David Carr might have to do it, or Derek Carr might have to deal with this whole career. Donnie and I we always say David Carr. I always say David.
They're the same guy to me. Yeah, they look the same. They could be twins.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Sure. But we'll see. If it's chronic, that's concerning, surely.
And there's no shame in Donnie saying Sage Rosenfels. It's one of those random mediocre generic.
That's what comes to mind. The same, like if you go to Central Casting and just pick out that white quarterback who's not very good, they're all the same guy. Yes.
Yeah. You can just mix and match and you get the same person.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Hey, if you're a 6'4" white guy and you have a decent college QB rating, you got a shot in the NFL.
Luke Falk, baby. Luke Falk.
Well, he'll be pretty damn good in the NFL.
No, I know. He just fits that mold you're talking about.
Yeah. Hey, guys, let's get into 465, 466. We got the Carolina Panthers versus the Detroit Lions. 2 3-1 teams. Looks like 44 is the total. -2, -2.5 across the board. Want to shop around using SBR odds right now. Looks like 5 dimes at 2, 2.5, just bet and bet Chris. So shop around on this one. But guys, let's get an opinion on this. We got 2 big name quarterbacks going at it, 2 good teams. Big man, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'm not going to bet against Detroit at home. It seems like good things happen at home. They're never out of a football game at home, it seems like. And I like what I've seen from this team. They're not too sexy. I mean, they don't have a huge name anymore at receiver, or, they don't have a high-level run game or anything, but they do some good things on defense. People are stepping up, and Matt Stafford is a guy that I seemingly all of a sudden want to back. He's always going to keep them in a game this year. Carolina, I don't have much opinion on. Was I impressed with what they did on the road at New England? Sure. I mean, but they did give up a lot of points. The defense is still a problem to me on the back end. Matt Stafford may exploit that. At home, I'm just not really looking to bet against Detroit. This looks like a pretty good number. Until Detroit shows that they don't come to playing games like this, I'm not going to fade them. And just a random little stat, last 4 games in a dome, Carolina's 0-4 against the spread. Very odd, interesting number. I'm going to go with Detroit. I like the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the game, Carolina coming in, big win last week, maybe unexpected, maybe to everybody outside the building in Carolina, but you're wondering each week what you're getting out of Cam Newton. He was much more aggressive in that game. And hey, Funchess had a good game as a wide receiver. They were able to move the football, put a little bit of pressure on Tom Brady, pulled out a nice victory. Moving forward here, I think I'm going to echo Jeff's sentiment here. Past couple years, Detroit at home, when they're either an underdog or, 1-2, or it looks like still, the prevailing number right now is under 3. You're just asking for Matt Stafford to win the football game, which he tends to do in the fourth quarter. If you're going head to head in this one and it's 24-24 in the fourth quarter, Detroit's at home with Stafford at the helm, I'm going to lean on taking Detroit here. I probably won't be anywhere near this football game betting wise because I like the way it shapes up. I think both of these teams are pretty evenly matched heading in here. But if you're betting this football game, give me Matt Stafford just to pull out the W here at home.
And Drew, real quick, before we get to Ian's point, over the last 20 games where the line's +3 to -3, they're 12-8. So they're on the plus side of those games. Most teams aren't. You got to feel good about that when you're backing them as a small favorite or underdog.
Yeah, in general with Detroit, very similar type of team to me with the Chargers in that I'd rather take the underdog and take points in their games because they play so many close games. The Lions play so many close games. The Chargers play so many close games. But you're still getting a number of less than 3 here with Detroit. I'd lean in that direction as well, as long as you can get less than the field goal in this football game, because I just don't know if Carolina's offense last week was just taking advantage of a piss-poor, struggling, reeling stop unit that New England has, or a real sign of a turnaround. This is going to determine that a little bit more. Did Cam Newton and that Carolina Panthers team pick apart a woeful New England defense, or is that truly a sign that their offense is improving? This is going to be that measuring stick. This is going to be that benchmark. The one concern I'd have here with Detroit is I know Amir Abdullah's done a better job running the football a little bit the last couple of weeks, but could arguably be one of the better defensive front sevens that Detroit has faced this season. If they're one-dimensional and Carolina's pass rush can get there, it could be some problems for Matt Stafford. But if he gets time to throw the football, you can make some plays against that Carolina secondary. So that matchup, can that Carolina front seven impose their will in this game? I think it's going to go a long way to whether Carolina wins and covers or Detroit does.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I like that breakdown, man. Guys, anything else in the NFL you want to get out there before we move on to college football?
No, I think I'm like Donnie anchoring the same Eagles sentiment right now. Like the fact that they're running the football. Looking forward to week 5 here.
I'll have the Eagles in.
Yeah, the only sad thing, I guess, for
sure.
fantasy players and for full card NFL guys, the bye weeks do kick in this week, so it is a more limited slate here. Missing out on maybe 2-3 games a week. Always, more football the better for me on the NFL. So that's the only thing I'm, not too impressed with. But again, it looks like there is no London game this week, so we should have a good slate.
I like those London games and the Mexico City. Anything like that, I think, adds an interesting dynamic.
No, they're not.
I'm in the minority, though.
Sorry, I don't miss the London games.
Yeah, they're horrible.
No, not interested.
Terrible idea.
All right, boys, let's get on to college football. But first, if you're liking the content, please give us a thumbs up, a like button. Also, remember to subscribe to SBR, the YouTube channel. Got over 30,000 subscribers now, so thank you very much. That helps us out a lot. And make sure to check out SBR Sports Picks. We got a lot going on there: college football, NFL, MLB playoffs. Now the NHL starting as well. So some great content there. Actually had a really good weekend overall as far as record wise with any content coming out. So check that out this week. A lot going into it. And guys, let's get into 60 Seconds with Cameron, where we're going to be covering some Canadian sports, CFL, NHL, really whatever way he wants to go. We got the NHL, I guess, dropping puck tonight, buddy. So get after it, Ian.
Yeah, Canadian Sports Corner, I guess you could call this segment now that NHL is starting. You're right, CFL and NHL. CFL is winding down a little bit. It's pretty much status quo. I mean, Calgary's owning that league, and it's everybody else after that. So not much to touch on there. I'm going to spend most of this 60 seconds talking about the NHL because the season starts tonight. I'm looking forward to it. 4 good games. You got a lot of good teams involved. Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, Pittsburgh, of course, 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. Great card to watch and even to bet on. I've got a few good opportunities, I think, that are on this card. Looking forward to it. Toronto Winnipeg over. I mentioned that on the Ice Guys NHL show yesterday. It's at 6. I still like it at that number. Very interesting card. And closing line with Donnie tonight. We'll be talking about that entire 4-game NHL card tonight on the NHL ice. So looking forward to that as well. NHL hockey, great time of year.
All right, Ian. Yeah, NHL, it's such a great sport to go to, man. I love going to see, you hear the guys skating. Let me ask you a question about just the prices tonight. It looks like we got 3 teams minus 150-ish or higher as far as favorites go, and they're all home teams. So NHL, do you notice home field or ice advantage being a big proponent similar to college football, Ian?
I usually try to go against some big home favorites at times. I mean, that's where a lot of the profits and has pushed my plus unit count up at the end of the season, has taken a stab on some of these underdogs, particularly on the road, because I do think at times home ice is overvalued and overrated in the NHL, especially in the playoffs, because I find that there's still highly priced home favorites in the playoffs, even though it gets more tighter, there's more pressure. Teams feel more pressure, and you're going to get upsets in the playoffs. And I usually like to take some of these plus price dogs and throughout the season as well. I find there's good spots on underdogs in the NHL every single season. I'm sure there will be again throughout this season as well. Tonight, Edmonton probably deserves to be favored. Not sure they should be that heavily of a favorite, but I like Edmonton a lot, so probably not going to go against them. Toronto should be a slight favorite over Winnipeg, going to be a good Leafs team. Pittsburgh should be heavily favored against St. Louis. The Blues are absolutely riddled with injuries starting the season. That's a big-time issue for them. The Robbie Fabry injury in training camp really hurts them in terms of their center ice depth. It's a big problem for them. The Blues are not a team I expect to get off to a good start. I don't know if that's a live dog. Believe it or not, Donnie and Jeff's Philly Flyers might be a live dog tonight, just because I don't think much of the San Jose Sharks coming into this season. They're a fade team for me, a bet against team. I think their Stanley Cup championship window's closing. They already said goodbye to Patrick Marleau. A lot of their players are in their mid-30s in age. San Jose's not a team I expect to be any better than they were last year, and I think the down arrow on the Sharks, maybe as early as tonight, we'll see.
And Ian, we'll hit on the NHL, quickly in the roundtable going forward. But where can any listeners that want to hear more NHL find your stuff on SBR? You got, I know you'll be on Closing Line with Donnie, but anywhere else?
Yeah, Closing Line with Donnie every Wednesday night, co-host with him. But NHL Ice Guys is the main show. That's where we go 30, 45 minutes breaking down the card on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays right here on SBR Videos at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Central Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time, breakfast and puck talk, basically, for those of you that are around and able to watch it live. So the NHL Ice Guys, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, me, Andrew McInnes, Dana Lane, and our newest addition to SBR, Alex B. Smith, good friend of mine, been a great hockey handicapper for the last 5 years that I've known him, and he's part of the show as well. It's a great panel, and hopefully we give you great picks along the way. All
right, well, good stuff, Ian. And guys, we got college football coming up. Anybody want to throw anything out about the MLB playoffs? See, John Gray is a big dog. I don't know. It looks kind of appetizing. Anybody else like that?
I mean, I would lean toward home chalk. I think home chalk comes in more than not in the playoffs because technically they are the better team, and at home they're probably going to win 2 out of 3 games. If you look at teams that are 170, you saw it last night with the Yankees down 3-0. If there's ever a team that upset a plus 260 or whatever it was, a minus 260 last night, that was it, and they got the door slammed on them. Greinke's a good pitcher at home. I just think overall Arizona's the better team here, but going forward, to me, there's the least amount of value in any sport playoffs has to be baseball.
All right. Hey, big man. Kyle's telling you to wake up, bro.
I'm up. I'm ready.
I think it in all the hockey and baseball knowledge.
By the way, Ian, quick thing on the NHL. Who in their right mind does the scheduling for a power or a top 5 marketed team where their fan base loves their team, and you're going to open them up at 10:30, have a celebration before the game? So puck drop expected in Philadelphia at 10:50 p.m. Who does that?
That's ridiculous to me. I agree. But there's always one of these poor Eastern Conference teams, Donnie, that has to start the NHL season doing that 3-game West Coast California road trip. San Jose, LA, and Anaheim.
Watches the Devils. Put the Devils at 10:50 every night, and nobody would care.
Yeah, exactly. The Devils, it's what it is. I mean, the Devils, if you watch their home games, everybody comes dressed as for a Halloween costume party. Everybody dressed as empty seats, exactly, for New Jersey Devil home games. There's nobody there for those games. So, yeah, I mean, a quarter full capacity, if you're lucky, for these New Jersey games. So, yeah, but every year there's an Eastern Conference team starting the season with that California road trip. And unfortunately this year for Donnie and his sleep routine, it's the Philadelphia Flyers this year.
Yep.
All right, guys. Yeah, good hockey talk there, Ian. Let's get into something I know will wake Big Man up, some college football talk. Big Man, why don't you start us off? What do you want to hit on college football-wise? What did you see last week that you're bringing over to this week?
Well, I'll discuss team to bet, team to fade. I said it last night on the closing line I did with Donnie. The Miami Hurricanes are a team that I'm very high on going forward. I think, and I said it last night, I believe they're going to beat the Clemson Tigers in the ACC. I really like this team. I think long-term, they're a team with a really tailor-made schedule to kind of get to that title game. They don't have much, really. They don't face Clemson in the regular season. I love what I've seen from this team defensively. I mean, they're one of the best defensive teams in the country, 16th overall. Rozier has been really good. I mean, I was a little unsure of what we'd see from him. I know Hurricane fans were as well, but overall, he's been really effective so far. If Mark Walton is completely healthy, this team is going to do some big things this year. I think he's a running back that a lot of people really know much about. They're well coached under Richt, and I think they're starting to build a little bit of a special season down there. We'll see how it goes, but they're a team that long-term looking to bet. They don't have a schedule that's too tough. They've already – you look at this week even, they're getting Florida State at an opportune time. Florida State's young. They have a quarterback with not much experience, and their offense is dreadful. I like what I'm seeing from Miami. I think long-term they're going to be a team to maybe look out for. They're, I believe, 13th in the polls. I think that's only going to get better. A fade team, and I'm not going to surprise anyone with this, but you have to wonder where they're going to win a football game this year is Nevada. I mean, they can't move the ball at all. They're bottom 20 in the country offensively. And, Drew, if you remember, when we went over this team in the Campus Connection, I made it clear to you they were completing and totally going to have a new offense and defense. And you look at offensively, they have been dreadful. It's no secret that when you change an offense, you have to have good players to run it. They have 4 true freshmen receivers. They just don't have a ton of playmakers on this team. Their pass defense is among the worst in the country. I believe they're second last. They're bad, and they're going to be a team that long term just isn't going to be able to compete, I don't think, in any capacity. Nevada is a bad team, and they're going to be bad for a number of years.
They are absolute fade city because I was on Fresno laying the points against them last week, and everyone's saying, how can you lay 9.5? Yeah, you can, because it's Nevada they're playing, and they absolutely drilled Nevada. That thing was over in the second quarter. 31-0. I know Nevada sort of made it close late, but it was over. And that Fresno team, keep an eye on them. That's a team with CFL connections, by the way. They're going to be a better football team this season. They're already showing signs of that.
I guess that makes them winners already, right?
Yeah, exactly. The CFL. No, their defensive coordinator used to be in the CFL. He knows what he's doing. So, and you're already seeing that Fresno, because that Fresno defense was a joke. It was a laughing stock last year. It couldn't stop anything. And they're already making strides forward in that remark. But getting back to Nevada, there's nothing going right here. Defense is deplorable. Can't move the ball. Ty Ganji's been erratic. And from all the people I see and talk to in Vegas, and they've got people they know from the Reno campus there where Nevada, and they say this is a rebuild that's not going to be fixed anytime soon. This is a long, painful rebuilding process that is going to have to go forward here with the Nevada Wolfpack. It's not going to be fixed. It's not going to get better anytime soon. In fact, it could even get worse before it gets better. It's what everyone across the board has been saying that's close to that Nevada team. There's no way I'll put my money on that team. The question is, can you trust Hawaii this week? I actually would. I know they're favored on the road. That's not something you like to do with Hawaii, but I think this is a time for Hawaii to put their foot down and take advantage of a reeling football team. I'd still look to lay it with the Rainbows there.
And Donnie, what about you? What about any teams to back or fade in college football?
Yeah, so you try to. I always like to try to build a case, even if some teams, don't show up the week before, 2 weeks before that, they're really struggling. Maybe there's a ray of sun there. Looking at the ECU game last week, Thomas Sirk back in at quarterback. I thought they were viable for the over, that one easy. There's 2 teams I don't know if there's any coming back from, so to speak. I watched them both, and I've watched them both over the past couple weeks. One of those teams, obviously, is a MAC team. It's Kent State. Last week was one of those games where it could have been a winnable football game. You had Buffalo decimated by injuries in the backfield without their starting quarterback. You weren't even really competitive in that game. Number 2 is San Jose State. Going into UNLV last week, I did have UNLV, so it was a nice win, but they weren't really that competitive in that football game. They have a quarterback that throws the ball all over the field, inaccurate, bad decisions. They have no defense to stand behind them. That's 2 teams I'm looking at. Air Force is the 3rd team that's just disappointing on my end. Jeff and I talked about the San Diego State game that they played in the rain. If that game didn't rain at all, San Diego State might have beat them by 3 touchdowns in that game, to say the least, and that was at home. They go on the road playing another, running team, so to speak, in New Mexico. Didn't handle that situation very well, got blown out. Now you're going to the best running team in the nation to me, Navy, who I think is going to hang another one on them. So going forward, a little bit down on them. Backing a team, got to be UCF. I like what I see out of them. I like the schedule with them moving forward. That's a real football team. And as I like to say, Scott Frost, living in Orlando, get used to him. Like him this year. He will not be your head football coach next year.
Hey, Drew.
Yo. One
thing to build off of what Donnie said, he mentioned San Jose. I think one other team that I'm intrigued by going forward is UNLV. I think they're a team that, I think they might end up being a team that might put some scares in teams. not many people know that they're a really good rush offense. I mean, they really can just sit on the football and run you like crazy. A lot of people will avoid them because of what they did against Howard University, but ever since then, they played pretty well. I know they haven't played anyone, but I think they're a team that will be intriguing. I think Tony Sanchez is doing some good things there. I think long term, he's building some good things, and they will do things. They have playmakers. They might be a team that might put a scare into some teams. We all know the Mountain West isn't great. They don't play Boise. They don't play Colorado State. They don't play a lot of the big boys either. So there could be a team that will cover numbers because a lot of people were turned off by what they did in week 1.
Sort of reminds me of a Washington State and Temple case from last year. Lose the first game, big favorite, and then they're just undervalued ATS-wise most of the rest of the season. And Temple and Washington State last year both had incredible seasons against the spread. Maybe that's the case for UNLV, that Howard loss way back in the first week of the season that everyone wanted to run Tony Sanchez out of town for. Maybe leaves them undervalued. I know they got shit kicked by Ohio State after that, but outside of that, it's a team that I think as long as they're playing comparable opposition and talent-wise and athleticism and speed, comparable foes in all three of those departments, it's going to be a team that's going to be able to win some games and cover some point spreads because they do have some talent on offense. The defense, when they're able to step down in glass, isn't quite so bad. If they're playing comparable foes, there might be some opportunities here with the Rebs.
Hey, Donnie, I got a question for you. As far as program outlooks go, you got a nice on-campus stadium, a new one. You're in a fertile recruiting ground. As far as where the program outlook goes, it looks pretty strong at UCF. Why do you think he for sure leaves?
I mean, somebody's going to pay him 5 times the amount that he's making down at UCF. I mean, they're not a Power 5 conference, so they're not going to have everything at their whims. I mean, if a team like Nebraska comes calling and says, we're going to lay out $8.5 million, and you write the check for what you want in the practice facility and the staff that you want and what you can get after, there's going to be a bidding war for his services. And UCF, I mean, hey, it might be in the next 15, 20 years more up and coming, but right now, until they get into the Power 5, that football money is just not there yet. Somebody's going to blow him away with an offer and just take that next step up for him. He's that good of a football coach.
And unfortunately, that's just the landscape that we are in college sports, unfortunately. Like Donnie said, UCF's not going to be ever a high-level football program, unfortunately. It's a place where you breed, you become a decent coach, you do good things, and you move on. That's just the unfortunate nature of the beast if you're a smaller program.
All right, money talks. That's a fair argument. I don't know, Jeff, if they'll never be a top echelon program though. I don't know. They will never be.
So what you think they're?
It's really competitive. I mean, it's really competitive down. Even when you were growing up down there or looking at it, Drew. I mean, back in the day, you didn't even have South Florida. I mean, it was basically the Miami Hurricanes. You had Florida State and Florida as the 3 teams. I mean, look at that recruiting that you used to be able to get. Now these, other teams pop up, FIU, FAU, USF, UCF. I mean, all these programs coming in over the past 15 to 20 years, and it's still a very competitive atmosphere down there. I just think with UCF to compete and be on a national level, it's going to be hard just from all that pull in that area. If it was just UCF, no South Florida, no FIU, no FAU, they could probably make that jump into a
Put them in North Dakota. Maybe they'll win recruiting battles. But other than that, they're not going to. We're talking about UCF here. We're talking about a team that didn't win a game 2 years ago. I mean, since when is UCF any good? I mean, they win 1 game, and all of a sudden now they're
good this season.
They're going to win
good this season. Yeah.
Why? Because they won 3 games.
They're much better. They're much better.
They're a good football team.
They finally got a coach that's in there and has turned things around. It comes from a winning pedigree, too, an Oregon Scott.
But he's going to leave, and they're going to go back to oblivion, like always.
They could. But the thing is,
O'Leary had a couple winning seasons for them, though. They weren't that bad.
The thing that's going to make it tough, though, it's really tough, not so much on UCF. UCF's going to get a little bump from this nice little run they've had with Frost, but when he leaves, it could get tough again down the road. But it's FIU and FAU that are really going to struggle because you look at Miami, they're really on the way up again. Florida State's still there. They're the 2 teams that are really going to have a hard time making inroads here with recruiting. I mean, Butch Davis in particular, because FIU's near that bottom of that entire list of Florida schools right now from a football perspective. He is going to have to really overcome some things in order to make us inroads with recruiting for that program.
All right, guys. No, good discussion there. Hey, anybody got a strong opinion on tonight's game or any weekday college football? Big man, are you involved in any of these games?
I'm not sure that I'll be involved in tonight's game. No, I think we all agree that Georgia Southern's a pretty poor football team. The line's up to 9 at this point. I think people are starting to see that they're just not very good. I think Arkansas State will win. Am I comfortable laying 9? Not really, just because I think this is a game where we're going to learn about what kind of football team Arkansas State is. Are they a team that just faced really tough opponents in the first couple weeks, and now they're in conference play and they're going to dominate? Because, Drew, as you know this, son, about they're a team that's in the upper echelon of this conference. So a game like this, you have to go on the road and just be better than the other team. I mean, they're a better football team. They're well coached. They should be able to go on the road and get the job done here. But there's some questions and injuries with Justice Hansen and others. So I'm not in love with laying points, but they'll win. They should win by double digits. They really need to kind of just show that they're an upper echelon team. As far as any other one, Donnie and I talked about NC State. I'm sorry. I think this is a really interesting spot. It reminds me a lot of Washington State last week. A team coming in that's, kind of that hunter, if you will, and then you have kind of a hunted team in North Carolina State who not many people give a lot of respect to, but the truth of the matter is they're a pretty good football team. They have a good quarterback. They have a really high-level offense. They can move the football at a high rate, and they have a really good defensive line. That's one of their underrated points. Louisville has a questionable defense. They have questionable players at really every position other than Lamar Jackson. Can he put them on his back and do whatever he wants here? I'm not so sure. I like their defensive line. I think this is going to be a tough atmosphere on a Thursday night to play in. I'm looking squarely at the dog here and maybe pulling off an upset. Louisville has some chinks in the armor. I think NC State could exploit that, what they do well.
I like that one as well, big man. And I also like NC State's defensive line kind of neutralizing, Louisville's dual threat quarterback ability. So I think that getting that extra half hook on the 3 number is a good bet with NC State.
That's a weak offense. That's a very, very weak and suspect Louisville offensive line as well. And I think that could be a distinct matchup edge for NC State in this game. Completely agree.
All right, guys. Ian or Donnie, any other thoughts on maybe Memphis, UConn, or BYU, Boise?
Memphis, UConn. I mean, you're looking at that game from a points perspective. Over-under opens up at 73 at Pinnacle, now sitting at 72, 73.5 at BetOnline. I would see more points in that one than not, because Connecticut's going to try to go 100 miles an hour. Whether or not you like their quarterback or their style of offense, they're going to get a lot of swings at the plate. And Memphis, atrocious on defense, looking for a bounce-back effort. They're not going to get much resistance going against that Connecticut defense. I would lean on points in that game. I can easily see that game ending up both teams in the mid-30s and somewhere in that range, scoring that 75, 76, 77 point range. I would lean on the over in that game.
And a lot of people think that UConn, like Donnie said, is I think the general consensus with them is that they're that slow team and they play defense. They're totally different. They can't stop anyone, and they go pretty fast all of a sudden. Sheriffs is a dual threat quarterback. Memphis needs to, wake up, I think, and this is a good spot to do it in. I have a feeling they run away in this game. They really need a good showing after last week, and I think they're looking like a little bit of a fraud right now. They beat UCLA, okay, but the other 3 games, they were very pedestrian in. To go on the road here, I think you need to kind of get right here and pound UConn. UConn's poor. They don't defend anyone. This should be a game. If they can't score points in this one and beat this team by 20, I don't know what to say about Memphis, really.
What's funny is I was not convinced UConn was ready to have totals in the 70s but even with their speed, their up tempo, and their offense and their defense just not stopping anyone. And sure enough, they still get up and over last week against SMU, a total in the mid 70s, a 49-28 final score. So I'm absolutely looking over or pass in this game from a totals perspective. I don't think they're going to stop Riley Ferguson and Memphis one iota. But again, we're waiting for Memphis's defense to improve and show us something. And look at the 4 games, 29 against Monroe allowed in a rainstorm in a brutal weather scenario that night, 45 to UCLA, 31 to Southern Illinois, the Salukis out of the FCS, and then 40-burger hung by the UCF Knights last week against this Memphis team. No good on the defensive side of the ball. So there absolutely should be points. Totals-wise, I definitely have a lean over.
I thought that was one of the more pathetic performances of the week last week, Memphis. I don't know what went on there, but that was embarrassing.
Hey, Mackenzie Milton can play a little bit for UCF. Good dual threat quarterback. Milton can play for that.
And they're better defensively than I had envisioned. I thought they would be. We hadn't really seen much from them because they only played a couple games, but they looked good. I mean, you hold Memphis to 13 points. That's impressive.
Yep.
Guys,
UConn ain't doing that. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Right.
Guys, we have over 130 viewers right now and only 30 likes. Please don't be a lurker. If you're liking the content, please give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate it. Donnie, sad moment in the roundtable history. No, you got to hit the road. Any opinion on Western Kentucky versus UTEP, or and then hit us with your best bet, man?
Western Kentucky, UTEP. No, I'll be far away from that game as I'm about to approach my Manny Petty appointment that I have about 15 to 20 minutes. So I don't have any opinion on that. But best bet for this week on the roundtable, I'm going to go 303, 304. New England and Tampa Bay. Why not? It's the next NFL game up on deck on schedule. A lot of people still think New England's out there. They're the team. No way they're going to lose 2 games here. Tampa Bay's a pretty good football team. I've been on them all summer long. But Jeff and I also been talking about them on the roundtable for quite some time. This is one of those step-up games. This is a measuring stick game. You're a real football team. You beat New England in this spot. You're getting 5.5 points at home. I look for Tampa Bay to cover this. I don't know about that 56 over-under. I'll stay away from that game. I do see points in that one, but 56 in the NFL is quite a high number. All it would take is 1 interception, 1 fumble with one team going in, and that over doesn't cover. I'm going to lean on the home team in this one and take Tampa Bay on Thursday night plus 5.5 as my best bet for the week.
Hey, Donnie, don't knock the Manny Petty.
Awesome.
Nothing wrong with those.
Yep, I gotta be pampered and taken care of. I had a good week in football, so I'm gonna go get a Manny Petty, and I gotta get out of here.
When I lived in South Philly, I had this great nail chick. She got my cuticles looking good, man. Nothing wrong with that. Got to stay pampered, bro.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yes.
I gotta get out of here.
All right, buddy. See ya.
All right. See you for the closing line, buddy.
Absolutely.
There we go.
All right, boys. Donnie didn't want an opinion on the degenerate special, so let's just do a little tripod here. Western Kentucky UTEP looks like Western Kentucky's laying 19 pretty much across the board. Total 56.5 at Penny, 56.5 at 5 Dimes. Also showing some 57s at Heritage and Chris. Any opinion betting this one? Is anybody betting it personally right now? And if not, any opinions going forward on if you may bet it?
Yeah, I'm a little curious here about UTEP plus 19. I got to tell you, I think this is an interesting number for West Kentucky to lay. If you look at the Hilltoppers, they're a shell of what they once were. That high up tempo, 45 points a game, really isn't happening right now with Mike White and this offense. Mike Sanford's really transformed them into not that anymore. They're not putting up a ton of points. They haven't covered a point spread this year. And you look at some of the barometer games. Okay, you would relate UTEP to like a Ball State. Ball State was without their quarterback Riley Neal and their best running back James Gilbert. And they still hung with Western Kentucky. They didn't look good against Eastern Kentucky. They're just a team that is struggling to put teams away. And I'm not sure that I want to lay almost 20 points with them. I do think UTEP's offense is better with Zach Greenlee. I'd much rather have him over Ryan Metz. He's a better completion percentage. He just runs the offense better. And Sean Kugler is gone. Hallelujah. Sing to Jesus. He's gone. Mike Price steps in. If you don't know anything about Mike Price used to coach at UTEP. He's an older guy, kind of reminds you of a Jim Grobe type. He's just kind of going to fill in for the rest of the season. But I get the feeling that they look, UTEP's bad, but are they this bad? I don't think West Kentucky's that good. They're not what they used to be. And one guy to look out for, the one playmaker on UTEP, Quadriz Wadley, had a good game last week against Army. I was impressed with the fight by this team against Army. At home here, getting 19 against a team that I just don't think has any business laying this kind of number. I think this is one too many points. I think this is like a 34-21 type of game.
I agree with you, man. I like what you said. Also, I bet you bring up Mike Price. If you don't know the story about him, he was the coach for Alabama and never actually coached a game. It's actually an interesting story. Went down to, I believe, Panama City or Pensacola and had a hell of a night and then got fired from his job. So just Google Mike Price, Alabama. It's a funny story. But bringing up UTEP, finding change. And UTEP, I actually lost against them this past week on Army. And I just plain and simple graded as Army wasn't 23 points better than UTEP. They really weren't, big man.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think they were, and they weren't covering at any point in the game. They had a chance where they went up 17, and you're kind of thinking they had the football. They're actually going in, and at that point they'd pulled Ahmad Bradshaw, and I'm thinking, damn it, man, I don't think we're going to cover, because I didn't have much reason to think. The kid comes in, throws a pick six, and the cover's gone. But no, they weren't better than they weren't 23 points better than UTEP, and I just think with UTEP, they're going to put up a little fight at some point, and you're starting to see a little bit of playmaker there. There are many, but yeah, I agree. I like their play last week on the road at West Point. Not easy to do. They're at home here. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd go UTEP or pass. Ian, what about you?
I can't do it with UTEP. Sorry. You could have hired any fucking coach to replace Sean Cooper.
You can't hire any coach. It's the middle of the year.
And you choose Mike Price. Mike frickin' Price, who drove this program into the ditch. Do you think he gives a flying fidoo at Mike Price at his age, being out of coaching for 5 years? Let's turn around UTEP football from the disaster and the ditch it's in? Not a chance. He is the one guy that I will not trust to turn anything around with this UTEP program. Problem is on the other side. Western Kentucky's 0-4 against the spread. That's a falling knife theory in play here. They're way off from what they were last year. You look at Mike White and the downward spiral he's had because Jeff Brom's not there. He's a quarterback whisperer of the college ranks, quarterback guru. He did everything as much as Mike White to make him a good quarterback. You look at Mike White, he's dropped off. His play has not been as good without Jeff Brom there. And Mike Sanford, to me, is a mediocre replacement as a head coaching hire here at Western Kentucky, replacing Jeff Brom. And they haven't covered a number, and they haven't even been close to covering a number. So this is an impossible game. I cannot and will not lay it with Western Kentucky, but I can't endorse UTEP. You hired the one guy that I would never, ever in a million years bring back to this program because he ruined it in the first place.
I'll be honest with you, Ian. I couldn't disagree more. I mean, he put this team in the AP top 20. They made multiple bowl games. What?
That went 10 years ago. What about the last 3-4 years when it turned into a complete nightmare?
Okay. I mean, again.
Most recently with Mike Price. Early on, he inherited some nice players, I thought. But when it came time for him to recruit, him to do the dirty work, the heavy lifting, he couldn't do it. Basically, he was lifting the things, and it basically broke his back, and he couldn't do it.
I hear
you. I'm not a Mike Price guy. I haven't been. Yeah, early on, he did have success, but last couple years, it was a disaster. They were just and that one-way freight train going downhill. And Sean Kugler, unfortunately for UTEP, couldn't rescue it. I mean, couldn't do anything to fix it either. And now he's out. But you have an opportunity. I don't care who you can get. You can find me and knock on my door, be the head coach. Anybody but Mike Price. I didn't like that decision at all. Not even maybe.
Yeah, but I think your grasp shows. What are you going to do? I mean, it's the middle of the season and you're UTEP football. I don't think there's a ton of people knocking on the door. I mean, he's one of two coaches in this program's history to make 3 bowl games. Again, he retired. I guess he decided it was time for him to move on. This is, a Jim Grobe thing. You're plugging him in, and then you attack and try to find a coach next.
And how did that work for Baylor? Not very well. Not well at all.
Ian, UTEP's among the worst teams in football. I don't think I'm not saying that he's going to turn them around and make them a bowl team. Do I think they can cover 19 against a poor football team? Yeah, and then I won't ever care again about them. You're right. Yeah. But I think in this spot, I think that whole, let's play. We got a new coach. Let's all be excited here. This will go away next week, and they'll probably be a bad team again, and they are a bad team. But like you said, West Kentucky's just lost its luster. I mean, they're not what they once were.
And let's not forget that Army still outgained UTEP by almost 200 yards last week. So let's hold on about UTEP turning a corner. We'll see if they've done it this week against a team that they should be able to hang with a little bit more. We'll see. I mean, that's why it's such a tough game. I hate this thing that UTEP's doing with Mike Price, but look at Western Kentucky. I can't make a case to lay these kind of points, even if I think UTEP's no better with Mike Price. I mean, Western Kentucky's just been overvalued and haven't come close to covering a number yet. Can't take them either. So it's a clear pass for me. But I wish you luck, big man, with UTEP, even though I don't like it much.
Yeah, I might be wanting to blow my brains out towards the end of this game, but hey, we'll give it a shot. You never know.
Yeah, I doubt anybody's betting big on UTEP, but I can see the argument, and I don't know, I might get there for a small amount. But Ian or Big Man, do you think they called? Art Briles?
Oh boy, Ticats did in the CFL, so anybody can.
Yeah, I can't say I think they did. I think he's blackballed at this point. I don't think we'll see him again. But I think they're an interesting team. I mean, they're they're that bad team in college football. I don't really know where they go from here. I would say they'll probably do what, maybe like what SMU's done. You try to find one of those young coaches, or like what a North Texas did with Seth Luttrell. Find one of these young coaches that maybe he's doing some good things, and kind of like that, and try to build a program. But it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years until I think UTEP is relevant again. You got to stop, and smell the roses. And UTEP, it's time to do that with them.
They clearly didn't have another option lined up, clearly, because you're talking about plucking a guy that's been sitting in a retirement home for the last 5, maybe he's got a house or whatever, last 5 years, eating his ice cream. The nurse is feeding him his ice cream there, in the nursing home. Well, maybe not. He's
71 years old. That's definitely pretty old to be a coach.
They pluck him out of there, and now he's coaching again. I just don't know if a Mike Price comes in here and has really got the passion, the gusto, and like let's get things turned around here at his age, after being out of football 5 years, just a little bit more out of touch now with the way the college game is right now, even more. We'll see. This, in theory, is an opponent they shouldn't be overwhelmed by, Western Kentucky. It'll be fascinating to see what they do.
I didn't think we'd get this much discussion out of UTEP Western Kentucky, but
no,
we did.
No, good stuff, guys. And a lot going on in the chat box. Feel free, guys, to chime in on whatever you'd like to hear. And if you're liking the show, we got John Willis asking about Navy here. So 367-368 Air Force Navy. You laying the 7.5, big man? I know you know a lot about military academy.
Yeah. I would run to the window to do this. I think Donnie Brightside mentioned it. Navy's an elite offensive team, as we know. Air Force, I like to bet them at home in precarious situations where it might take the opponent a little bit to get used to. They get a team that has never played in elevation or something like that. But on the road in Annapolis against a team in Navy who is just way better than they are, I'm not running to the window to grab Air Force here. I think their defense, Air Force, struggles. I think they're going to struggle here on the East Coast. I haven't looked into it a ton. Navy's just a team that I always back. They don't hurt you. They're not gonna make bad decisions. I would definitely be looking Navy there. They usually win by double digits. That's what they do. They do it every week. They win by 10 to 14. That's what they do. Yeah, I would co-sign Navy, sure.
Okay. Hey, guys, we got we'll hit on the big matchup, TCU West Virginia, excuse me there, and we'll get into best bets and then close it out. Guys, let's hit on 387-388 West Virginia TCU. 69 the total, minus 13.5. Big matchup here in the Big 12. Could decide the championship in an outside fashion. Ian, big man, who wants to start us off?
It's an interesting game, a fascinating game, because TCU, obviously, we were wondering really how good this football team was. And to me, the enigma for this football team has been, I kind of like their defense. I like their coach, but do I like the quarterback? And Kenny Hill, coming into this season for TCU, really had a lot to prove to me, because I had not been impressed with him one iota. And sure enough, he goes in there against Oklahoma State a couple of weeks ago, plays great, and TCU able to take care of business in that football game. So I'm seeing improvement out of him. That's a good sign for TCU. I'll tell you what's not a good sign for the other side of the equation for West Virginia. I've seen a lack of toughness in the trenches from this team. On the defensive side of the football, they've been pushed around a little bit on the defensive side. In terms of stopping the run's been a problem here for West Virginia and Dana Holgerson's team. That's been a massive problem so far this season. You look at what they're giving up: 5.3 yards per carry, 226 rushing yards per game, 6.1 yards per play. We knew this defense was going to be a little bit suspect coming into the season, but they've played much worse than I thought. 451 yards per game allowed on the season for West Virginia. You look at TCU, on the other hand, they are shutting down the run. 2.8 yards per carry allowed, less than 100 yards per game on the ground. Numbers through the air, not too bad. And they've played some pretty good passing games, particularly passing attacks the last 2 weeks, SMU and Oklahoma State. So there's really no shame in TCU doing that. It's a lot of points to lay. I'm not going to lay the points here with TCU, but I've got some massive issues with West Virginia defensively right now. I mean, Virginia Tech in the first week carved them up. Their one-step-up game. Even East Carolina moved the ball well against West Virginia. And, of course, Kansas, 34 points hung on this West Virginia defense. Able to run the football at will down West Virginia's throat. That's a concern for me. I know you're getting double digits as an underdog here, this West Virginia team. I don't like the signs I'm seeing from the defense. I do like the progressions we're seeing out of Kenny Hill, the quarterback for TCU. So if I had to, I'd lean to the favorite, but it's a lot of points in a Big 12 conference game like this one. Going to stay away, but I've got some defensive concerns, maybe over the total, worth a look as well in this one.
Big man, you want to hit it or just skip it?
Yeah, I don't have too much in this one. It's a tough one. Neither team is particularly good against the spread, so it's hard for me to get involved with the scenario that they're in. I mean, TCU is 6-16 over the last 22 as a favorite. It doesn't put a lot of confidence in. They're better as an underdog. Do I want to lay 13 points? No, I think it's a stupid number. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I think we're looking a ton into what they did 2 weeks ago against Oklahoma State. They're off a bye here. Do I think they're 13 points better than West Virginia? No. I think Will Greer's a kid that will put up big numbers this year at West Virginia. That's what they're going to do. But I was impressed with what TCU did defensively against Oklahoma State. Can they do that 2 weeks in a row? I don't know. I'll side with West Virginia. I'm not in love with their defense. This is a pass for me. I'm not going to be betting this game. I just think there's a little too many points in a Big 12 game where you have a capable offense that if they're down 21 or 17, they're not going to just throw the towel in. They'll get that late score. I like West Virginia offensively. I feel like they could stick around here. I think TCU, look, they held Arkansas to 7 points. That's pretty impressive. And they did what they wanted to do against Oklahoma State. I don't know. We'll see, but I think West Virginia and Will Grier are a little undervalued here. I would take a shot with them if I had to.
This game's a great lesson to bettors because I had TCU circled in this game as a potential play, but fact of the matter is I didn't get the number I wanted. So it becomes a clear pass to me. And this is a great reminder that it's this big Saturday college football board. Pick your spots. Don't have to bet every game. Pick your spots, be disciplined, circle to go forward with the games that you really have a strong conviction on. Don't have to bet the board. If the number's not to your satisfaction, you can say skip it and move on to the next one.
Great point there, Ian. And guys, we really appreciate you watching. Please subscribe to the SBR YouTube channel, and please give us a like. Just a click on your mobile device or computer. It helps us out a lot. We really appreciate it. Guys, let's get into best bets. But first, a bunch of people asking about tonight's game, Arkansas State, Georgia Southern in the Sun Belt. I like Arkansas State as a side. I think that they should dominate. They are the more talented team. But I will tell you this, from watching Arkansas State closely, Justice Hansen went down last game against SMU with a back injury, like Big Man was talking earlier. Back injuries can really be tricky here. Supposedly, he's going to give it a shot. That's what the their blog writer, their beat writer was saying, that he was practicing in shorts and a t-shirt running around. He's a pretty good player. I don't know about next level NFL quarterback, but he's a pretty good player. If he goes down, their backup Bonner, he really looked like a deer in headlights out. He's only a redshirt freshman. So in-game betting, which 5 Dimes Bet Online will have tonight, it's a singled-out Sun Belt game. You can kind of get ahead of the odds makers because they're not going to be knowledgeable. I would definitely suggest an in-game under bet on 55, 54.5, or whatever it would be in-game if Justin Hansen goes out. So as far as the guys asking about Arkansas State or Georgia Southern, that is one way I would look.
Yeah, Georgia Southern, we must point out, is a totally different team than what many remember. They are nowhere near that level of football.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm totally
offensively, especially. I mean, with Tyson Summers coming in, he hasn't been able to reproduce what Willie Fritz has at all offensively.
No, we're finding out Willie Fritz is a pretty damn good coach because he's got Tulane on the incline a little bit. They're much more competitive. They're able to win some games now a little bit, Tulane, and Georgia Southern's not been the same since he's been gone. Total in agreement. If I play this one, I look to the road team.
Tyson,
you got in early at -6. It's the only thing that mattered to me from making it significant was it got to 8.5, 9, and that's just too much of a move, but certainly lean to the Red Wolves.
Tyson Summers should be coaching high school somewhere.
Yeah, should not be coaching in Georgia Southern, that's for sure, yeah.
All right, guys, let's get into to best bets. Big Man, what are you going with best bet-wise?
Well, I laid a big number last week and didn't get the job done, and I'm going to lay one this weekend with good confidence. I know might be crazy doing this, but I hate this team. They're horrible to me. I'm going to lay 34 with USC against Oregon State. USC obviously off a loss. Get a little bit of an extra day or two to lick their wounds after that loss against Washington State. But they're back at home here. We know their offense is high level. We know Darnold. I think this is a game where Darnold really pads his stats a little bit. I mean, Oregon State is a dreadful football team, dreadful on the defensive side, among the worst in the country. And they got some terrible news this week. Ryan Nall, the only player on this team that could do anything worth talking about on offense, is out this week. And I don't really put a lot of stock into one player for a team, but with Oregon State, I do. He's really the only thing they have. And their quarterback's already out with a spine fracture. So it's getting really bad up in Corvallis for this team. And now you got to go on the road. You haven't covered a number all year. And you got to face a team in USC. It's a little pissed off. And, they haven't really had a game like this where they can just kind of, they face some tough opponents every week. I mean, there's been no guarantee game on this schedule yet. I think this is an opportunity for them to really show out here, really put on and really blow out a team in Oregon State that I think is among the worst in the country. I could see them being shut out here. I think USC defensively has a pretty big day here. Oregon State is poor. I think this is like a 51-10 type of game. I think USC runs away with it.
All right, big man.
Big number, yes.
So, Ian, what do you got?
Let's go NFL on Sunday. We'll save some NHL opinions for the closing line later. Green Bay, Dallas, we're going to go over the number, 52, in this game. I don't think Dallas can stop what Green Bay does well, and I don't think Green Bay can stop what Dallas does well. That's basically the extent of it right here. Dallas is going to run the football with Zeke Elliott, and I don't think Green Bay is equipped to stop it. That's going to make things easier on Dak Prescott. When he's got that running game going, he's able to make plays downfield to Des Bryant, Cole Beasley, and all those great receivers for the Cowboys. And on the flip side, Dom Capers has switched to this nitro defense. Well, this nitro defense isn't equipped basically to stop what Dallas does. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, guess what? He gets to feast now on a Dallas secondary that's absolutely shredded with injuries. We don't know. Skandrick's obviously been banged up, and when he has played, he hasn't been quite as good as we've come to expect from him in that Dallas secondary as well. So there should be plays in the passing game available throughout for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, these are two teams that don't exactly run at a fast pace, specifically Dallas, but that didn't seem to matter last week when their game against the Rams flew over the total with room to spare. They're very efficient. That can make up for a lack of pace that they run in terms of their offense. If you can, even if you don't play with pace, if you're efficient, you get more touchdowns than field goals in the red zone, which Dallas does. You're able to make up for it. I think we get points. We saw points last year when these teams played in the playoffs, the Packers and Cowboys. I think we see more of the same. So Green Bay, Dallas, over 52. That's my best bet for the roundtable this week.
All right, Ian, good stuff. So we got Donnie on New England, Tampa. He's on Tampa plus 5.5. Big man on campus, USC minus 34. Ian, Green Bay, Dallas over 52. And I'll finish it off with 357, 358. Louisiana, Lafayette, Idaho over 64, which you can get at Heritage. You can get at BetChris and Just Bet right now. In the Kippy Dobe, weather will not be an issue. Actually three pretty good quarterbacks. ULL's quarterback went down. If he plays, if he doesn't, the JUCO backup can he's a pretty good player as well. ULL's one of, if not, bottom 10 defense in college football. Idaho's defense is okay, but I just think that up and down, this number is a little too short. But guys, anything else before we close it out?
Catch me all week, 3 o'clock, World Cup qualifiers. We're towards the end of that. Looking forward to I'm hosting this week. Natalie Rodstrom had her baby, so I'm in there hosting, doing some things. So catch me every day, 3 o'clock this week, doing that.
Yeah, very good.
Ian, congrats you got the nice guys.
Yeah, congrats to Natalie. Excellent news there that she's able to give birth. Excellent. Hockey, NHL Ice Guys. We've got that Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Pacific. Me, Dana, Andrew McInnes, and Alex B. Smith breaking down the hockey card on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, the busiest 3 days of the week throughout the hockey season, and we'll have coverage of it for you here at SBR. I'm on the closing line with Donnie every Wednesday, as well as Morency's late night show on Wednesdays. So 3 shows for me on Wednesday. Busy day, but always a lot of fun.
Wow, you're starting to get like me in doing 8 shows a day. Good for you.
I know, it's crazy. Oh, it's picking up. And then wait till college basketball hits. Big man will be even more at that time.
Ooh, can't wait.
Big man, you didn't say anything about BMOC's Bet Buffet.
Right. I got Thursday afternoons. We record the video, Drew Martin and I, the BMOC Bet Buffet. It's been fun. I look forward to continuing those with Drew Martin. We're going to have to come up with one for college basketball. Maybe Ian and I can do a video. We've never done videos together, just him and I. So I'll be interested to see if we could do that. That might be fun, Ian, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd sign up for it. Absolutely. We'll make it a plan.
Ian, one of my favorite people in the business. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Blake, why don't you? Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna comment on Blake. I'm gonna let Blake be a moron. I'm gonna just let him be a moron. I'm on a diet, Blake. Cut it out.
Big man addressed all the diet stuff. If you want to read it, check out his Twitter. Let Blake, him go through his thing.
Sixth grade, calling out people. Thanks, Blake. Take it easy.
All right, BMOC, and we got our Saturday show too, so we'll have to come up.
Yes, we got so much to do, Drew. We got you and me on the Bet Buffet. We got the Saturday show. It's just great, isn't it?
It's good stuff, man. All right, college football, college basketball right around the corner. NHL starting tonight. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please give us a thumbs up, a like, and we'll be back next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. This is the Sports Betting Roundtable.